just oh man.
Yeah, I love sound toys, but
I wake up in the middle of the night. I have like nightmares. I'm like being eaten by adverts about plugins.
yeah. There was there's an audio meme on Instagram account called Audio Hurts.
Oh yeah, I followed that.
I just cannot. He gets me. So whoever it is behind it just gets me.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
What'd you get, Ben?
So actually, this year for Black Friday, I got absolutely nothing for the first time in
you.
many years. Many years, got absolutely nothing. I held out. I also didn't really have time, and the whole studio situation has like left me kind of like running around scrambling to get my work done.
That's crazy.
And so I'm just treating myself to a new studio in my house, and I guess that's kind of going to be like sort of like my Black Friday purchase.
All right, basically like what Black Friday would have been before all this technology came about.
Yeah,
cool.
Just acoustic treatment. That's what I'm gonna. But haven't even bought it yet. But
all right,
that's the plan. Mendy,
Nice.
tell us about what you got for Black
But
Friday.
I got hit hard by the ads, and I'm normally a bit of a sucker for these things. So I bought that new reverb. Is it Valhalla? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Valhalla.
Valhalla. I got the vintage reverb.
It's like in that Led Zeppelin song, Valhalla.
Yeah.
I Am Coming.
Yeah.
Immigrant song.
So I got that, and about 5 years ago, I got Complete 11 from Native Instruments, which back then was amazing. And then when 12 came out, I obviously sat there sulking a little bit because I saw all of the new stuff it came with, but
That was about a year ago it came out, right?
something like that. I couldn't quite justify it.
That was a former Black Friday purchase of mine, but
Right.
But yeah, I'm still on 11.
So I just decided now to, I think it was half price, so I upgraded to 12. And for me, as somebody who doesn't play the guitar, I bought a couple of standalone plugins as well, but there's two like strummed acoustic plugins, and there's a finger-picked one, and then there's also the Sunburst, which is their electric one. So those are really cool. They help me a lot, especially when I'm doing like low-budget productions, and I can't work with session musicians, which happens from time to time. Yeah, there's just so much awesome stuff for creativity. I've actually started something every morning whereby for the first half an hour, well, it's supposed to be half an hour, it normally spirals out of control, but I'll basically find one brand new sound and let that take me wherever it takes me. And I normally try to...
That's a great
it's
creative
it's a lot of
exercise.
Fun. Like I'll open Contact, and I'll open like the Indian... they've got like an Indian... they've got percussions and
like
all
the
that kind of stuff.
And
exactly. And then, you're obviously inspired by the sounds that are there. So suddenly I'm just playing like this oriental kind of thing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then what I'd like to try and do also once I've got going with something like that is I like to pull together all the different sounds from as many different places as possible. So I'll kind of take just trying to think of an example. Yeah, like I'll take some new sound from Contact that I've never used before. Then I'll find a drum loop from Loop Loft, which I love. They've got some awesome stuff. Then I'll find some cool little things on Splice, and then I'll get something from Omnisphere. And I just feel that like even when you're doing everything in the box, when you try and be as varied as possible and bring things from different places, and then also try and just because a sample has already been created by someone else, you can always manipulate it and take it a bit further. And
Sure.
So try and stretch it and keep things interesting. So I like to do that every morning. That kind of keeps me fresh and comes up. My biggest issue though is that I have a lot of projects that I'll just open them and there'll be like 8 or 16 bars of like really cool something.
Yeah.
But then I don't really know what they're for, or because in the back of my mind they're all things that I can eventually get to and like do something with.
Yeah.
But they're really just kind of like these production snippets that I kind of challenge myself to make to just...
I love that.
It's
amazing.
Fun. It's a lot of fun.
That was like back in the day. These weren't very good, but I used to do these things called mini grooves. I called them mini grooves.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was like every day, if I had like a few minutes in the studio, I would just like make something really quick, like a little beat.
It's like what we were saying before with the recording in Nashville. It's like...
But it gets you going.
As soon as you're challenged, you're like, okay, I have half an hour. So like, instead of saying, I wonder which of these 180 pads that are all very similar, like it's just like, no, pick one. Does it do the job? Next. What don't you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's something that a lot of people have talked about on this podcast, actually, is like how precious people can be about specific things that actually don't matter in the grander scheme of things.
Who was it that you interviewed?
It's about getting
saying about finishing things. Was it Mixer Man?
I think that was Mixer Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot to be said.
I'm like, I've been preaching that to all of my all the artists I've been working with recently. Let's get this out the door, and the next song will be even better. Like, exactly. don't be over finicky on every single aspect of the production. You gotta let things go.
Absolutely.
So, So anything else? Anything else you got on Black Friday?
No, for Black Friday, I think that was it.
Amazing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, since I've got the since I got the Slate Everything bundle, and I just feel between that and a couple of extras, like, there's so many people I know who just, like, you go on their computer and they have every plugin ever made.
Yeah, totally.
In a way, I find that overwhelming, because it's like,
very overwhelming.
It's like, okay, I would like to add some reverb to this vocal track, but I don't want to be stuck here for 4 hours deciding which one.
That's why they say you got to choose your plugins carefully, and use the ones you know how to use. Basically.
Right, exactly.
Like, once you, like, I'm so deep in the Slate world these days because it's just, I'm using the Slate mic. I'm just in that ecosystem. I know the compressors in there I like for different things. I know the EQs I like for different things. It's just like bam, bam, done.
They're Verb Suite Classic.
Yeah,
use that. That's
great.
Nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
Also, the thing I love most about Slate is that they've got presets pretty much for everything, which they're almost like I see them as like a guide.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, if you want warm vocals, well, click on warm vocals and see what they did, and then obviously you can tweak things.
For sure.
It's a great.
It gives you like a place to start.
Point. Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
Especially because I come more kind of from a place of the musical production as opposed to engineering, and obviously you're always learning and trying to become wiser and better.
That's another interesting thing I think about a lot, is like, where on the spectrum are you as a producer? Like, how much of a musician, how much of an engineer? I think
it's all becoming.
I think of myself somewhere in the middle,
right?
To be honest, and like I think of you maybe like a drop more on the musician side, and like this and other people are more engineers, and it's
and the crazy thing is that people like clients are kind of they want that all-in-one monster now, so it's like forces you wherever you are to try and, which is tough, but
I think. It's some people. It's interesting. You get different opinions about this. Like, should you focus more on doing as many things as possible, or focus on one thing and just hone in on that? And I think there's times for different things in your life and in your career, and like, there's a time to learn about everything, and then there's a time to focus.
Yeah, I was also saying earlier, there's somebody who came to me for he wanted me to do some production work, and he explained from the beginning that basically he didn't have a big budget. But he had a big volume of work. And, one of the things that was attractive to me about it was that he didn't want like hugely dense productions. At the same time, he wanted me to do everything, which kind of forced me a bit out of my comfort zone, because it meant that I had to start, mixing, which, normally I would do for rough mixing, but never for the finished product. But, I kind of weighed it up, and I was like, well, okay, I'm not mixing something now with 100 tracks. And at the same time, this is pushing me to go out of my comfort zone and learn some new stuff. And, in this kind of situation, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think every situation and every project has its own parameters and things to weigh up. But
and learning experiences, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So it's like, actually, a lot's happened in the last 5 months for you since we last spoke.
Yeah.
You've you started mixing. You put out an album.
Had a baby.
You had another baby. Yeah, Danny, right?
Yeah, Danny.
Amazing. Wow. So that's a significant chunk of time.
That's why all my hair's falling out.
Yeah. My hair just turns gray. We all have our
Ben, you can dye grey hair. You can't dye a bald head.
What? You sure? Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, dye with a
dye.
Yeah, dye with a Y.
No, like color.
Oh. It's like there's a lot of ways people can die. Okay, yeah. Well, hopefully, yeah. Well, it'll all be good, I'm sure. In any event, I told you before we were going to start recording this podcast that I was going to try to convince you to do acoustics in your room.
Oh,
by the end of this episode. Should we go about that? Should we try doing that?
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think you seem to already be more convinced than when you walked in the house.
First of all, I didn't realize that. I thought it cost significantly more than what you mentioned to me. But I'll tell you what it is for me. It actually ties in very much to this discussion we were just having. Basically, a lot of what I do is essentially preparing, I guess, you call it arranging or producing, or essentially getting the music ready before the vocalist comes in, or having the music ready enough that the vocalist can record and feel inspired before I then take the whole track. Which is, by the way,
something I'll touch upon that after we talk about this. But I had literally was just dealing with
go on,
an artist. Okay, fine.
Go for it.
I was just dealing with an artist that was trying to sing over a backing track that was like the least inspiring backing track like either of us had ever heard.
Right.
And the vocals were sounding terrible. And at a certain point, I started adding instruments to this backing track so it would sound cool. Like I started adding like some Logic loops, just like get like a more banging 4 on the floor, get like some chords that sounded like less cheesy, and like all of a sudden his vocals sounded much better. And so that's like super important.
It makes a huge difference. I think what I do, like, there's two sides to this. On the one hand, I don't really ever want to be the kind of producer who kind of hears a song, goes and gets everything ready, has no contact with the artist, and then says, okay, sing, then I'm going to mix it, and then it's done. At the same time, I do try, and obviously I'd have a lot of back and forth with the artist every time, just to make sure that it's in line with what their vision is, and also just in terms of the song, that it's the right kind of, it's portraying what they want to portray.
Yeah.
I don't like to track vocals till the music's 75-80% ready.
Cool.
For the same reason, because like you want the artist to sing and really, really feel it. And they're just not going to perform the same way to a guitar, like a guide guitar track, than they are to something that, like, you want
it feels full.
You want them to have the same feeling when they're singing that you want the listener to feel when it's finished. You want that feeling of like, whoa,
this is live.
This is like, this is.
Yeah, man, totally.
So, I don't know how we got here. Oh, I think I was talking about So for the most part, what I do in my room, there's very little live tracking. For the most part, all the productions that have live instruments on, I kind of farm out.
You're the master. Right, we talked about this. You're like the master of farming out to Sound Better.
Yeah,
which was recently purchased by Spotify since our last meeting. Also,
so through Sound Better or not through Sound Better, there's I've got all my different. But the short of it is that I have people, incredible musicians all around the world, who do stuff for me. And one of the advantages is that they all have their own spaces that are treated right for what they do. So if I have a cello player and his room sounds great for that, and I have a drummer, and they all send me their parts, which means that I don't need a room per se for tracking, which is has meant that for the most part I came in and when I got my room and I put up like a few kind of diffuser and thingy majiggies and a carpet just so like to kind of soak up some of what's going on in the room.
Make it more workable.
And obviously I've put a couch in there and other things like that do their thing. At the same time, I've always been in a place where, like, if someone wants to come and track vocals, unless it's like they're tracking backing vocals or something, I've never really felt that like the room is quite ready for that. Also, as I kind of evolve into this, musician / producer / potential mixer, then I feel like it makes more sense to have a room that allows me to hear things properly, so I don't try and mix something and then get in the car and be like, what the hell's going on?
Makes sense. I mean, I think when you came in and you kind of told me, I just want my room to sound good enough that I could feel confident to bring a singer in to do a vocal on top.
Yeah, I actually and this just reminded me. Actually, sorry to interrupt you. When it was probably about a year ago, I produced a track for somebody. The music I thought sounded great, and he came and tracked vocals with me, and I sent them to you to mix, and you were like, I can't actually mix this because there's way too much room.
That's true.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It was actually a great vocal take.
Right.
And once I popped the compressor on, like, you know, once you want to make the vocal actually stand out in the mix, it couldn't because
Yeah.
all the artifacts came out of the mic.